The last thing today is a little bit of review material. I'm going to do the first one with you, and then I want you guys to hit pause on the video and try the last three problems, then unpause it to check your answer, and I'll work through each of them. The first one says that Matt decides to take a road trip to Indiana University. He travels at a rate of 65 miles per hour. I want us to keep in mind that even though it says mph, this P stands for per, and if you recall, those are always the numbers that are associated with things that we are multiplying by. So in my function rule, I'm going to be multiplying by the 65. So it's 65x. There's no other numbers, which means he hasn't started anywhere, and our starting point here is going to be 0. So I'm not adding or subtracting anything onto the end of this particular function rule. When I go to look at the slope then, slope is the same as rate of change, and it's always the number you're multiplying x by. So in this case it's 65, and if I were to include labels, which I should, it's miles per hour. The y-intercept is the constant that you're always adding or subtracting to this problem. In my function rule though, I'm not adding or subtracting anything either before or after my 65x. And the only number I know of that represents nothing is 0. So my starting point, or my y-intercept, which first of all always has an x-coordinate of 0, in this case, since I'm not adding anything, also has a y-coordinate of 0. The last thing is, if Indiana University is 325 miles away, how long will it take for him to get there? We have to understand what y and x are in our function rule. So that's one thing we hadn't done yet, is define our variables. If he's traveling at a rate of 65 miles per hour, x is going to be the number of hours. Because x, or your independent variable, is always going to be time. Or I should say, time is always an independent variable. Miles is one variable here, hours is the other. So that means that y is the number of miles. As long as we understand this and we know what our variables are, we look to see what they gave me. They gave me 325 miles. That's y. So I'm going to substitute in 325 for y. 325 equals 65x. I use my calculator, divide both sides by 65, and find that Indiana University is 5 hours away. Go ahead and press pause and try the next problem, and then unpause to check the next problem's answer before you move on to the last two. So go ahead and press pause now. So our function rule here should be y equals 53 plus 12x. If you did 53 plus 12x equals y, that's the same thing, that's also correct. Or 12x plus 53 equals y, that's also correct. This is 12x because 12 comes before the word every, which is each, every, per. Those are always going to indicate what we're multiplying by. X is the number of weeks and y is the amount of money saved. In this case, my rate of change, or my slope, is 12, and it's dollars per week. So I might just say $12 per week. And my starting point is 0.53. If you just put 53, that is not correct. You would not get credit on your quiz or on your test or on the final exam for that. You have to give your starting point to me in an ordered pair. Here, an iPad is $500. Will Chris have enough money after 37 weeks? This is the number we're using to check, so I'm going to substitute in 37 for x. in the function rule. Y equals 53 plus 12 times 37. I go through all of those calculations, and y is 497. That means after 37 weeks, Chris has $497, and that means he does not have enough money to buy his iPad, because he is $3 short. And no, he can't borrow it from his mom or his dad. He has to earn it all himself. So he doesn't have enough to buy the iPad. You would want to show this work and write this sentence. It's not enough to just write the sentence without showing me work. If you write the sentence and show me nothing, then I can't give you any credit because I assume it's a guess. You have to show me the work. Okay, the last two things I want you guys to do today is find the slope and the starting point, or the rate of change, and the y-intercept on both of these tables. Go ahead and press pause and put your answers down before you come back and check them. Okay, so your slope for the first one should be -3/2 because it's your change in y divided by your change in x. Your slope for the second one should be +1/5, 1/5, because it's change in y over change in x. Starting point here. I left those blank so I could talk through those. Common mistakes is that everybody would just put whatever is listed first as your ordered pairs. And that's incorrect. It is not what's listed first. It is always where your x coordinate is 0. So in this one, your starting point would be 0, -5. Remember, starting point means x equals 0. It does not mean the beginning of your table. Another common misperception is that we would see this, we'd understand that it's where x equals 0, and so we would just write 4. Starting point is an ordered pair. You need 0, 4 for your starting point on this one. Okay, you have the rest of the time work on your homework. Next week, we're going to have another day of videos with notes, followed by a review day, and then the Wednesday half day, you'll get time to do some makeup work.